All right, we are going to get started. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alicia Wenger. I'm the executive director here at Christine Ann, and joining me is Emily James, our development manager. So, we are so excited to host this first ever virtual donor update call. And we intend to make this a quarterly event for you all so you can hear directly from us about how your support is impacting survivors of domestic abuse. So first, we will start with a look back at the first few months of 2025, and then we'll talk about the current happenings that are going on, and then the near future, and finally open it up to any questions that you all may have for us. And we love hearing from you, so please don't be shy to ask those questions. So quarter one, which was this January through the end of March here. This was our first full quarter in this new facility here. So as most of you know, in order to meet the growing needs of survivors, last fall we moved from our previous home at 206 Algoma that we were in for about 33 years. And we moved into a larger facility located right next door, which made it quite easy for our move. But this larger facility was needed due to the limitations of our previous facility in terms of client safety, the capacity for large families, and then also ADA accessibility. And we were unable to welcome pets other than service animals in our previous building. So we spent our very first night in this new space on October 8th of 2024. So we've been in here now a few months and learning the quirks of the building and all of the fun things that it has to offer for us. But during our transition that we had from building to building, we maintained our 24/7 crisis services without any interruption. But what we did do was we waited to launch any of our new programming that we were going to do in this building until we felt really settled in and comfortable with the safety protocols of this new space and learning everything that there is to learn about being in a new building. So some of the things that we saw in the first 6 months of being in this new facility was we saw a 26% increase in shelter clients, which just kind of confirms the need for this space. What we also saw was a 209% increase in hotline calls. So again, those are the folks that are answering the phones 24/7. So we saw a very large increase in this time period, a 209% increase, in fact. Then in early January, we launched our new programs, one of which is our pet program, which launched. And so a national survey showed that 50% of survivors would not consider leaving their abusive situation if they could not take their pets. So we knew that we were missing a very large chunk of people by not being able to offer that as a resource to individuals in our previous facility. Since launching our pet program, we have sheltered 8 animals in total, 6 dogs, 2 cats, and 3 dogs are currently in shelter right now. So that has been just a really incredible resource that we've been able to provide survivors and has definitely been utilized since the launch of that program. And then also thanks to support from the Oshkosh Kennel Club, the Sheboygan Kennel Club, and other community donors, pets have what they need when entering into shelter, and we have a small reserve for vaccinations and emergency vet care should somebody need that for their animal. And then we are coming to you live from one of our transitional housing units that we have, which is another brand new program that launched. So our transitional housing program, we have 11 apartments that are designated for folks who really need that bridge in between the crisis piece of our emergency shelter and full independence. So this allows survivors to stay with us for up to 2 years, work hand in hand with our transitional housing advocate to work towards rebuilding some of that self-sufficiency to prepare for after the program ends. We currently have 2 households that are in our transitional housing program, which is very exciting. And then, so the makeup of those families are 1 parent with an infant, and then we have a pregnant woman who will be giving birth in just a few months here. So, and then the 2 additional families totaling 8 people will be moving in the next 2 weeks or so. So we're very excited that that was able to be launched, and that we have 4 families that are identified for that current program.
Another exciting thing that happened in the first quarter of the year was our annual Men Who Cook Gala. So this was our 24th annual event held in February, and it was our biggest one yet. We had more guests than ever before, about 450 people, including our wonderful group of chefs that you see pictured there. And it was a very successful night for us as far as fundraising goes. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year and helps support our programs all year long. So we raised around $135,000 through this event, including silent auction, live auction, raffles, everything that happens, which was an increase from last year, which was only about $119,000. So it continues to grow both in guests who attend as well as the revenue from that event. So we're so grateful to all of our chefs who participated and the guests and sponsors who made that a really wonderful event. This being the 24th anniversary means that next year is the 25th anniversary. So we're planning something a little extra special and ask you to save the date for next Saturday, February 28th. And that will be a really fun night. We also released our community impact report. So you may have received a little booklet in the mail that looks like this. If you're not on that mailing list and would like to be, feel free to reach out to us. We are going to drop a digital version in the chat as well, so that if you want to check that out, you can do so. It is posted to our website as well. So it just recaps the previous year in stories and quotes and statistics, just sharing the impact of our services in that little booklet format. So yeah, get that checked out. And then we also want to use this time to cover sort of what's going on in the current state of the world as it affects Christine Ann. So there's a little bit to share regarding our funding situation. So Alicia shared a lot about the increased capacity and usage that we're seeing since moving to the larger facility. Both residential programs are increasing, our hotline calls are increasing, and unfortunately, funding is going the other way. So folks on the call might be familiar with one of our largest government grant funders, which is the Wisconsin Department of Justice, the Victim of Crimes Act, or VOCA grant, which has historically provided Christine Ann and many other victim service providers with a large grant for the last several years. Unfortunately, those funds have been dwindling gradually, although last year we saw one of the largest cuts in recent history, with about 40% decrease in the overall funding that was available for our entire state, which resulted in our grant going down about $66,000 from the previous grant year to this current grant year. So that was a fairly big hit. We had a little bit of warning that that was coming, but that was sort of the first domino in the funding decreases that we've seen. The next one being, a couple months ago, during the change of the administration on the federal level and the increased scrutiny around federal grant funding. We have, in addition to that grant I previously mentioned, we have several others. And in total, it's about $175,000 that Christine Ann receives from federal sources every year to support our crisis services to keep people safe. So that $175,000 is kind of in limbo. It's on the line and could be frozen, could be rescinded, really at any moment, which is very unfortunate and leaves us in a difficult and challenging situation. In addition to the government funding instability recently, there has also been a change in strategic direction for two of our local foundations, which last year, between the two of them, we received a total of $70,000 in grant funding. But their changes in strategic priorities mean that we're not eligible to apply this year. So that is another recent hit to our funding. So while our capacity and the number of survivors that we're serving has really never been higher, the funding to support those essential services is going in the opposite direction. And so what Alicia and I and the team here at Christine Ann are working on is diversifying our funding even more, growing our fundraisers like Men Who Cook and some of the other events that we have throughout the year, increasing our donor stewardship, making touch points with people like this so that folks can understand the impact of their gifts on survivors directly in our community. Just seeing a comment in the chat about repeating the gap from local foundations. So we were awarded a total of $70,000 last year from these two foundations that I mentioned. And so it's looking like those funds will not be available at least this year. So in addition to the $175,000 that is federally funded and on the line, we also have an additional $70,000 in private foundation funds that we're looking at losing this year. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at as far as funding goes. And like I said, it's puts us in a challenging position at a time when we're growing, and some of the other regional partners who serve victims of domestic abuse, sexual assault, human trafficking are also experiencing some of the same cuts. And a lot of us get some of these same grants, and so it creates a situation where Christine Ann, being relatively stable and being one of the few 24/7 operations in our region, some of those other service providers who maybe only are open during regular business hours, they don't operate a hotline, they don't operate a shelter, are starting to rely more and more on Christine Ann for our 24/7 support for the folks that they are serving. So as folks have to start cutting staff or not rehiring positions that become vacant, it's just putting more strain on everyone. And so survivors are really the ones who lose in that. And so we're hoping that, through the different efforts that we are putting in, our community will come to understand the need that we're facing and step up in those different ways. So one of those regional service providers that we wanted to talk about today is Reach Counseling. Alicia is going to share a little bit about a new partnership that we've started with them.
Yeah, excuse me. So we have worked with Reach Counseling for many, many, many years. However, this is newer because of the capacity of our building. So with this increased capacity, we have recently established a new partnership with Reach Counseling, which is another local nonprofit that's really focusing on sexual assault survivors and human trafficking. And so this new this new partnership is for us to be able to provide temporary shelter for their clients. So really in years past, we have really just kind of stuck to our firm mission of domestic abuse, but with knowing the current community dynamics and the housing shortage and just lack of resources for sexual assault survivors and the safety that comes along with that, along with human trafficking, we felt an obligation to help. And so that's really where this kind of catapulted, and especially with the NFL draft. which just happened this past weekend. So this happening, 45 minutes from us in Green Bay. This is a major event that happened in our surrounding communities, and unfortunately meant increased instances of potential sexual assault, domestic violence, and human trafficking. So with a lot of those conversations that we have been having with other service providers in the Green Bay area, we also were in a position where we're like, how can we help? How can we really throw our hat in the ring to provide support and services to those survivors who need it, especially with the intense and increased amount of traffic that our communities saw just this past week. So we're very excited, though, with that new partnership with Reach Counseling to be able to support their specific survivors with that temporary housing piece in our emergency shelter.
So before we take any questions, we wanted to share a few ways that folks can support. So we're going to throw some of these in the chat, or you can take a picture of the slide for future reference. If you have not visited our new facility yet, we'd love to give you a tour of the new space. We continue to do those all the time for folks who want to take a closer look at the work that we're doing and that you are supporting as our community members. A great way to stay in the loop is our monthly e-newsletter. It only comes once a month, so we won't bombard your inbox by any means, but it's just a once a month comprehensive update about things that we're working on, upcoming events, our current needs list for any items that we're short on in shelter. So it's a great way to stay up to date. You can use the link that was put in the chat to sign up for that. Volunteering, we have a much bigger building here that we need to take care of, upkeep, clean, landscaping this time of year, especially stocking and putting away donations. So we welcome both individuals to come on a recurring basis or groups, whether that's a group from a community service organization that you're part of, from your workplace. We welcome anyone to come and volunteer. Of course, donations are always welcome. Given the funding shortages, our donations from individuals are all that more important. About 25% of our annual support comes from individuals in small gifts, and so that makes a huge difference. One initiative that Alicia and I are working on is TaxWise giving, and putting together some options for folks who want to give either through their will or estate or through other smart TaxWise ways while they're still here. So those options and information further on that will be coming later this summer. We also put our contact info in the chat if you ever need to reach out to Alicia or myself directly. We welcome that. And on that note, we'd love to take questions that you all have. If you'd like to turn on your camera or turn on your audio or even type it into the chat, we'll be happy to answer any questions about whatever we shared today or other questions that you have for us. Anybody want to be brave? Well, again, you can reach out to us directly. Our email and our phone numbers are in the chat, along with those other links that I mentioned. And so thank you all so much for being here. We will be sending out the recording via email and putting that on our YouTube channel. And we look forward to seeing you all in July for a look back at Q2 as well. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, we very much appreciate your time and spending your lunch hour with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Alicia and Emily.
Thanks,
Thank
Mitchell.
you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, bye-bye.
See ya.
Have a good day.
Thanks,
You too.
Darren. Have a good night.